Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Beyond the Beliefs. I am your host, Danielle Proulx, aka Goddess of the North. This podcast is dedicated to soul playing. I am the magician, I am the muse, and I am the artist of my life. I invite you to come and play with us today in this immense universal playing field of infinite possibility. Today, I present to you our special guest, our star, Michele Landers, aka Spiritual Alchemist. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I love the title, Beyond the Beliefs, because that's what will give you, that's how you become a spiritual alchemist. It's to go beyond your beliefs.
Thank you so much. So what Michele is going to be sharing with us today is she's going to be talking about turning points, pivotal moments in her life. What happened? How did she decide to let go? How did she do it? Why did she do it? And what happened when she decided to take the lead and really trust the process and chose to follow her soul's evolution? So I'm going to give you a little description about Michele for those that don't know Michele. So Michele is a board-certified life purpose coach, hypnotherapist, author, and professional numerologist. She is a dynamic and gifted lecturer, teacher, author, and consultant on the subject of personal empowerment, spiritual wisdom, the law of attraction, and numerology. Michele was a recurring coach on Fox WFLX, Eye on South Florida, with Shannon Kate, and on NBC's WPTV 5 at 11 Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise segment. Recognized and highly regarded as the authority in her field, her books, The Tao of Numbers and The Year of Living Miraculously, are both informative and entertaining. So thanks, Michele, and I just can't wait to get started and play with you.
Well, good, because I want to play with you too, and everyone out there, because it truly, truly, truly has been a miraculous journey for me. And because of the fact that it's been such a miraculous journey, that's the reason I wrote the book, The Year of Living Miraculously. And I've been doing either year-long workshops or 6-month workshops on that because it's so powerful.
Yes.
And so how did this all begin? And what do I mean by taking your life from ordinary to extraordinary? So I think for the most part, we live our lives, we have our families, or, we have significant others, and we go to work and we have this plan and we have some visions, and all of us, when we're brought into this world, usually have the idea that there's so far we can go. Okay?
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So there's only so far we can go. And so for some people, we're born and we have like this box. And for some people, the box is maybe this big. For some people, the box is way big. But when you get to a turning point, or when you take that quantum leap in your life, all of a sudden, there is no box any longer. And most people don't subscribe to that. They may have the idea that, I was brought up to believe that, I can be anything. But even those people sometimes have certain restrictions in their mind of, either roadblocks or certain beliefs that will stop them at a certain point. And so I realized early on that there must be something more, there must be something different. I was always questioning from the time I was little. I went to a parochial school. And there are some people who had delightful experiences going to parochial school. And mine was a mixed bag because I had a lot of questions from the time I was really young. And I found myself in Mother Superior's office a couple of times, and that's not a place you really wanted to go, because when I grew up, if going to Mother Superior's office could mean that your butt was met by the end of a ruler, believe it or not. I mean, it wasn't all out abuse, but it certainly was a little abusive.
Yeah.
And I always had questions. And when I had questions, it was, I was looked at as if, okay, Michele, this is the way it is. There is only one God, and he resides in the Catholic Church. So there's no reason for you to look any further. And some of your questions are blasphemous because I didn't know. I wanted to know, where was God? And to backtrack just a little bit, even though I grew up in a really looking good family, everything. And when I say looking good, it looked from the outside like everything was great. Father had his own business. I had an older brother. My mother was a homemaker. She was always dressed impeccably. She always had great meals. So, looks like it's great. But but many times in the looking good family, there's an elephant in the living room that nobody wants to acknowledge. And in our house, it was alcoholism. And so there were times where things were really, really, really crazy and traumatic. And I didn't have anybody to turn to. And my thought, even as a young child, was, where's God? Where is God? And then, because I always kind of looked at things differently, I thought, well, maybe he's hanging out with the chosen people in the temple, with the Jews in the temple. I don't know. And this is why I had so many questions. So, I had two very, very significant relationships in my life that were the turning points for me. One was my mother, who was the alcoholic. And I guess I need to explain something, though. I mean, she wasn't like this falling down drunk type of person. I mean, she took care of the house, she took care of us, but emotionally it was a vacuum. There was nothing. Emotionally, there was no one for me to connect to. My father was in politics and in business, so he was physically absent, even though he was a little bit more emotional. So I went out into the world with a lot of skewed perceptions on how things worked. Now, a lot of my questioning kind of went underground when I got into high school and I discovered boys. So that was, oh, wait a minute. It's like, like a cat with a new little trinket or something. I was distracted. Oh, I'll think about that later, because right now, hormones raging. And so boys became, and school, I have to tell you, I love school. I was always interested, especially in English, interesting enough. But that relationship also, because this was the person that I met in high school, was the person that I married. So I went out into the world again with very, very skewed perceptions and into a relationship. And guess what? That boy, that man that I married, turned out to be an alcoholic. So now I started thinking, what's going on here? How is that? Do I have a radar that attracts these type of people? And as it turns out, the people that we attract in our lives over and over again is for a reason. It's for a spiritual lesson. And we do attract them. We do. So I started getting really curious again about what was going on, turning to God, where are you? I really need some answers. I don't hear them. So in the meantime, the career that I chose, or it chose me, was working in the medical field and working as an administrator in a neurosurgeon's office. And that was another eye-opener. I have to emphasize that all of these things, and of course there's so much more in between, but they were all pivotal points for where I am today. And when I look back, I see them all very clearly. And luckily, still early on in my journal, I said, okay, I wake up. I get it. I get it. And I'm still getting it. I don't believe that I'm enlightened. I believe that I have listened and paid attention to the universe, to God, to divine, and I'm very respectful and in awe of that. So I started working for a neurosurgeon. I was in administration. I realized pretty quickly that I wished I had been in clinical, because I was fascinated by how this brain operates. It's amazing how these neurons are firing off and transmitting information to one another. It's like this chemical lab. And if you could see what goes on in your brain under a high-powered microscope, it looks like a thunderstorm, of all this activity. And that was key, because it gave me some understanding of how this brain of ours operates. And then we opened up a pain clinic. So what was I learning then? Now I learned about the mind and how powerful our mind is. So that was another big piece. And then a conversation I had with an oncologist who was in the same building that we were in was also pivotal, because we were just having a casual conversation one day. He was a young guy, and he was telling me that he was having, now this was like in the, this was like the late 80s, I think, late 80s. And he was telling me that, he was having a lot of success, or children going into remission using visualization. And I went, really? And I said, well, is it just because, their immune system is stronger? Does that make sense? He goes, no, this is different. He said, I really believe it's because they have no preconceived ideas on how certain things work. And if I tell them Pac-Man is eating up their cancerous cells, they believe me. They can image that, and they can believe me that that's possible. So that sent me on another direction. And then another meeting with a famous numerologist in New York, in Manhattan, and that was gifted to me by a friend. He was also, Dr. Kevin Quinn Avery was the gentleman who wrote so many books on numerology, has since passed away. And as an aside, I studied with him because I wanted to learn about that. But numerology also threw open another door to Eastern philosophies, and these deeper, much deeper, richer studies that Kevin was very well versed in. And so I started thinking, how much control do we have over our lives and what happens? What's that about? What can we do? What are our abilities? What can we co-create? Because the word co-create and visualization started to become very popular. So I started practicing just by reading certain books, and I had some modest success. What I hadn't realized, and this came the more that I studied Eastern philosophies, because Eastern philosophies and co-creating your reality are married. They really are married to one another. And then one day I heard the words quantum physics, and I went, boing, what is that all about? But I had started seeing that tied into co-creating your reality and the 0 point field. And I became absolutely fascinated. So the first thing I did, I went to the library and I got a book out for kids entitled The Cartoon Guide to Quantum Physics, because I knew I wasn't a quantum physicist or a physicist or a scientist for that matter. And maybe I could just glean some information. So I could understand a tiny bit, but of course I realized that it was way beyond my comprehension. But I did know, Danielle, intuitively, there was a connection between the quantum field and our co-creating our reality. So that's when, well, I'm not sure which direction I should go in now, because I should, I guess, include a couple of the miracle stories that I had in my life. And one of them, okay, here's the first big one. So because I was in this relationship with an alcoholic, we were married for 9 years and then we divorced. But we did get back together again. During that time that we were divorced, I was very, very heavy into all of these studies, the co-creative field, quantum physics, psychology. I started taking courses in psychology. I was going to become an addictions counselor. And then I realized, no, I don't really. I dealt with that my whole life. Why do you want to keep dealing with that? And that's why I, changed over to this, life coaching field. So I had a lot of background in psychology. And so during this period, this sabbatical, I guess you could call it, that we took, I was paying more attention to what I was creating. And I have to tell you, things were challenging. However, I was starting to peel away the layers of the beliefs that I had that were stopping this flow of energy between me and the universe, the divine. And this is kind of how it goes, the way I envision it. And again, everything that I say is based on my beliefs. I don't say anything is absolute. I know what worked for me. I know what has worked for my clients. So at any rate,
I want to ask you, Michele.
Excuse me?
If I were to ask you,
mm-hmm.
Can you give us an example? Because sometimes people hear this and they're like, okay, beliefs, here we go again. It's all about my beliefs and blah, blah, blah. So can you give me an example? You mentioned it was about the beliefs that I had. Can you give us examples of the kind of beliefs you had? So we can actually understand, because we got to get, and thank you for sharing the story so we can understand how you made that happen.
The beliefs that I had, and let me just explain about beliefs and how they start or stop. Bringing what you want into your reality. So the positive beliefs that we have are, about ourselves, and we all are brought up with different beliefs. Some aren't so good. It's not like they're all bad, some are not so good, some are good. So we have this, what I believe is this pipeline to the divine, where we communicate and send messages back and forth. This is what I would like. Okay, the universe is always happy to comply. However, if you have beliefs of being unworthy, or you walk around all the time with an attitude of, oh, this is never going to work, or you walk around, and if you're an awfulizer, it's like, if you walk around thinking how awful things are, and or if you're sad, or if you're grief ridden, or if you're shameful, or if you're angry, if you're guilty, all of those beliefs and feelings, they're like plaque. If you can picture an artery that arteries that keep the blood flowing, but if it gets corroded or gets filled or impacted with plaque, the blood doesn't flow through so well. And
I like that.
Yeah. And bad things can happen, to you. So my vision was that all of those beliefs, those negative beliefs that I had, which were, I'm not good enough. I mean, I got that message at a very young age. When I told my mother, because I was a really, really good artist and talented artist. And I said I wanted to go to Parsons School of Design. I was raised in, the East, Upper East or Northeast. And my mother said to me, yeah, no, you're not going to Parsons School of Design. I go, why not? And she said, because you'll go to college and you'll marry a nice Jewish boy. Now, we're Italian, okay? But her image was that I should marry a nice Jewish boy, which is really funny because my daughter, who is Italian, married a nice Jewish boy. So I don't know. My daughter got the message, I guess. So she said, that's what you'll do. Well, I was crushed. Not that I didn't want to go to college, that wasn't it, but I certainly wanted to pursue my career, or what I thought would be my career. I loved art. I loved creating things, which I do today. Mm-hmm. So that also had a very, very definite negative impact on me. So I grew up, or went out into the world, again, skewed beliefs. I'm not good enough. Somebody has to take care of me. I was told one day that I was ugly, and that really, I thought, why would a parent, I was young and I was thinking, why would a parent say that to a child, So those are the beliefs that I had to unhook from. And that, I have to tell you, Danielle, that was really challenging. It was a lot of therapy and a lot of reading. So as I started to embrace and love myself more and started deconstructing some of these beliefs, things started to change. And one of the first big things was, also, I have to mention that when my husband and I were divorced, I went to Al-Anon, and Al-Anon is a fabulous program. And there's something about Al-Anon that also is it's not kind of, it's a very spiritual program, but it also introduced me to taking responsibility for myself. It's not your fault. You didn't do this to me, because of course I went to Al-Anon to make my husband stop drinking, right? But they said, no. How about if you look at yourself? So I started discovering that was another pivotal point in my life. In the meantime, my husband and I got back together. And while we were divorced, as I started doing more creative visualization, peeling away the layers, I was going through magazines after magazines, looking at houses, because at that time I lived in a garden apartment with the 2 kids. And I said, no, I really want to move into a house. My salary was great, but it wasn't enough at that time for me to buy a house. So when my husband and I got back together, we talked about, let's buy a house. Prior to us getting together, when I'm cutting out all these pictures of the house I wanted, I had one floor plan, and it was on the refrigerator along with all the kids' drawings, how it gets all built up and notices and school stuff. So when we got back together, we were getting ready to leave. We found a house. We were packing everything up, and we're taking the stuff off the refrigerator. And it was like in a movie, without a word of lie, this paper just floats down. And my husband picked it up. He goes, what's this? He goes, this looks like the floor plan to the house that we just bought. And I looked at it and I went, oh my God. It was almost to this day, it's weathered. I wrapped it in, I didn't seal it, which I really should have, but I wrapped it in a lot of tape. I taped it, clear tape, because that was the first reminder to me of the power of all the houses that we could possibly have bought. And trust me when I say, it wasn't like I said, this is the house that, we have to buy. I had really forgotten it, but I had looked at it for so long, and it was there, that it was out in the universe. And we started looking at houses, and we both decided, yeah, this was really nice. And that was the floor plan.
So how many like months, weeks?
Oh, okay.
How long was it on the fridge?
That was years.
Okay.
That was probably 6 years, 7 years.
And that's why you kind of forgot about it. And how did that house make you feel? What was it about that floor plan? Because I want people to understand that it's not just cutting out a piece of paper, putting it on the fridge. There's something else around it and putting it in the universe. Yes, but how? Please explain to us, how did that floor plan make you feel? What was it about it?
Well, this is the interesting thing. And here's the wild card, okay? Because I also believe, I don't want to get too wacky today.
You can't get wacky on this podcast.
Okay. So I believe in parallel universes, and I know that's over the edge, but geez, I would love to be around in the next 100 years, because I think that, so much more is being discovered. I believe in parallel universes. I also believe, this is really true, there is no past, present, and future. It's kind of all now, all just happening. So there's no past, there's no future. So time is this weird construct, right? So two things, there's two possibilities with that picture. One was, there was something about it, and I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but I can tell you that I probably looked at hundreds of pictures and floor plans. That resonated to me. So either, it was the fact that picture so resonated to me and I sent it out in the universe. But here's the other thing. Maybe I was just getting a peek of the future. So those two things, think about that. So what we create, since it's all there anyway, is it already just out there and waiting for us to pull it in? Or as we go, are we co-creating it? Now that's kind of a mind boggler. So
love it. I love it.
Leave that there for now.
Yes, we can. Definitely. Because I do believe that we can actually play with all this energy.
Yes, we can. So here's another big miracle. I've had a lot of miracles, pulling producers into my life, focusing on it, thinking about it, they came. Creating, there's no reason for me to have been, I'm not a big star, right? So there would be well, maybe I am in somebody's universe, right? Who knows? But there is no reason for me to be on the TV shows that I was on, because I didn't do a lot of marketing. I didn't pay but through an interesting series of events, which it is really too long for me to go into now. We'll use up the rest of the hour. I found myself on, it's an affiliate, the NBC affiliate, but a huge station here in South Florida. Okay. That was the other miracle. Another miracle that I can tell you about. It's a little bit a shorter story, but it's powerful. When my husband and I got back together, we also had a business doing hurricane shutters. And, we did our taxes, paid our taxes every year. Our accountant was an alcoholic, big surprise. Okay. So one year, it was right after we had just sold the business. So we had a sizable down payment. And so we had to file our taxes. We got an extension, but I paid what my accountant told me to pay, before it was finalized. And a year later, I think it was, I'm not quite sure. I don't remember exactly, but I know that I got a notice from the IRS that I owed $75,000 in taxes. And, you know, first of all, after I got up off the floor, I picked up the phone and my accountant said, that's impossible. You know, something's wrong. And something told me, no, that wasn't wrong. The long and short of it was he never filed the taxes. He never filed them. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly. God, my mind's like a blank right now, but all I know is what I had to pay, paid, but they were also charging me $25,000 in penalties. And I said to my accountant, I said, that is so unfair and you've got to do something about it. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't our fault. And he was trying to push it on me. And I said, come on, really? You know, you didn't file it. Well, I didn't file it because you didn't do this. I said, that's not true. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right. This went on and he said, and then he relented and he said, okay, I will contact them. And so he and somebody else in his office kept contacting the IRS. And it was just like, no, 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 you've got to pay it. So there, I got another notice from them that said, on June, whatever it was, this is due and payable. Basically, how do you want to pay it? You know? So on that Friday before it was due, and that was Monday, I said, you know what? All of this time, I never called them. So I called and, you know, normally IRS employees aren't like overly friendly, you know, to you. They're not nasty. They're just not, you know, it's like, okay, what went through, I told her what was going on. And I said, you know, it just doesn't seem fair. And she said, well, I'm sorry, but this is it. I see that your accountant has sent quite a few letters, but so how would you like to pay that? You know, by credit card, or do you want to make payments? And of course, the IRS, like a loan shark, you know. Did I say that? I hope nobody's working for the IRS is listening to that, but
they're doing their job. They're doing their job.
They're doing their job. They are. Really, I have no complaints at all. So I said to her, I was quiet for a minute, and I said to her, you know what? I'm going to call back on Monday. And then she was silent. And then she said to me, I'm just curious. What do you think's going to happen between now and Monday? A miracle? And I said to her, yes. I said, honestly, that's exactly what I think. There's going to be a miracle between now and Monday. And she, right hand to God, you know, I have to say that because this is not a made up story. Swear on the lives of my children, my grandchildren. She came back and said to me, after like a few seconds, she said, you believe in miracles? I said, absolutely, I believe in miracles. She said, I do too. She said, and it brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
She said, tell me exactly what happened. And in that instant, I knew that the universe was there, that my guides, my angels, I knew they were there. She said,
again.
It was amazing. And I have written proof of all this, you know, from the IRS and everything. So she said, tell me what happened. And I told her the story. And she said to me, okay. She said, this is what I want you to do. Everything that you just told me, I want you to put it in a letter form. She said, have you ever communicated with anybody at the IRS? Yourself, not your accountant, yourself. And I said, no, I haven't. She said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Put it in written form. This is the address you send it to. And she said, you know what, honey? If you can believe in miracles, I can believe in a miracle for you. Now, you know what happened, right? Okay. they not erased, what's the word I'm looking for? They eradicated whatever, all but $2,000 of that $25,000. And this is the other thing I did. If anybody's listening, I took that file that I had, because I had a pretty thick file of this situation, and I pasted angel pictures on it. I put a note to Babaji and Jesus and everyone that I could think of that, you know, I resonated to. And I said, I know this is outside the realm of physical reality. I know this is a crossover, but I have faith and belief that you will take care of this. And I slept with the folder. So there's some other tips when you want something, sleep with it. And 6 weeks later, voila.
Wow.
And I have other stories, which, you know, I'm not going to go into now, but so all of that, in the meantime, I'm doing, you know, I'm meeting with clients, I'm doing workshops. I started the Year of Living Miraculously, started out as a few classes about, you know, getting rid of how to change your beliefs and all that. And then I said, what if I know all the steps that I take. And what if I take those steps and put it into, you know, like a workbook? And the first workbook was kind of, you know, a little bit rougher. And then I did a year-long class on all those steps. And then I said, I got to put this into a real, you know, into a solid book. It's a narrative and it's also a workbook. And can I just go over the steps real quick without even going into detail?
I'd love for you to share, like what's in that workbook, that book that you're talking about, that year-round transformation journey, because you this is what you share with us today is, yes, there's been a lot, but you've done a lot of work too. Like you can sit there and say, okay, make this happen, right? And that's so important to mention too, right? Yes, please share with us what came out of all of this, and it's still evolving, right?
It's still evolving. Thank you. And more things are happening.
I just want to say hi before you get into this.
Oh, okay.
We've got some people on that are saying hi. Hi, Kristen, Stacy, Gloria, Jean. And I don't see the other name, but I just wanted to acknowledge them. They're listening and love. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so glad that, you know, people are even interested in this, because we all have the power to do it. There is no, the universe doesn't differentiate between anything. Every single person has this power to do it. And what I realized, even though, here was another miracle, which maybe another time I'll talk about that. I found myself bringing to South Florida in 2010 the movie Leap. I was not an event planner. I never did anything like it, but it just exploded. And that was, okay, there is something significant I'll have to share about that. So at one of the showings, if anybody knows the astronaut, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, he was, I think, the sixth man to walk on the moon. And he had an epiphany during his return voyage. And he realized, or he felt, the epiphany was, we're all connected in this quantum field, this quantum soup. So Dr. Mitchell sent one of his people, his handlers, to one of the showings. And because he heard about the movie, his handler or person, whatever, watched the movie and then approached Chad Cameron, who was the co-creator of the movie, and said, Dr. Mitchell would like to meet with you. And I was like, whoa. And I tugged at Chad and I said, you know, I'm going to be at that luncheon, right? And he said, no, Michele, of course. And the handler said, no, of course. So I went to the luncheon, and it's a bigger story, but I wanted to condense it. We went to lunch. It was a great conversation. A lot of it way over my head, because Chad was a scientist. But at one point, I said to Dr. Mitchell, I said, I just have really one burning question. And he said, what is it? And I said, things like psychic phenomena, or phenomena, period, miracles, numerology, astrology, psychic readings from somebody who's authentic, all of those phenomena. I just want to know, is it the reason that they happen or work or co-creating your reality? Is it because of the connection to the quantum field? When you connect to the quantum field? And he said, yes, absolutely. That was the validation, because to go back, remember, I was in the medical field. That's really linear. And I have these two parts of my brain. One is very linear, practical, logical. This is what you do. And the other one is, I'm an Aquarian with a Scorpio rising and a Capricorn moon. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. So they're always like, you can't do that. Oh, I can do anything. So he validated for me that I felt much more comfortable going out in the world and presenting these ideas without thinking I am really just nuts. So what I realized, and then The Secret, there was a movie, The Secret, and which in many ways was great, but it focused mainly on material things. And in my world, there's so many other things you want to bring into your life, you want to co-create. So The Secret was basically ask, believe, receive. And there's so much more to it, It's acknowledging, okay, I'll tell you the 11 keys, okay? The first one, there's 3 core principles in my world. 1, you're perfect, okay? The most enlightened prayer in the world isn't, dear God, send me something wonderful. It's, dear God, help me realize I am someone wonderful. And that was by Marianne Williamson, that quote. So it's beautiful. We are all perfect. And people say, what do you mean we're all perfect? Look at this guy. Look at that girl. Look at this. They're so, okay, I'm talking about spirit. Your pure spirit is perfect. And that's within all of us. Personalities, not so much all the time. But that perfect spirit is there. Number 2, we're all co-creators. The same energy or higher power that created this universe exists within all of us. The universe is abundant. The universe conspires for us, not against us. I'm sorry that it's distributed the way it is at times, but nonetheless, the universe is abundant. Okay, so the action steps that go along with these principles are, I believe the key, number 1 key is to learn how to meditate, because meditation will absolutely open your heart and your mind and your spirit to receive information, what you need to do next to calm your mind. Meditation is one of the best ways to hook up into the quantum field, okay? Become an interior and exterior archaeologist. If you always do what you've always done, you know the answer to that, right? So you have to go on an internal expedition into your conscious and your subconscious. What's floating around in there? And there's a lot, let me tell you. And that's why it's so crucial in my coaching practice as well, because that's what I like to do, with clients. That's how you discover, as psychologists do as well. Learn to love yourself. That's another really important step, especially if you're a survivor of abuse or neglect. Then learn how to forgive, learn how to accept things as they are. If you can change it, change it. If you can't change it, worry is so useless. You can't worry yourself healthy. I can't worry somebody else healthy. There's not enough worry in the world that's going to take a situation and change it from bad to good. If anything, it adds more negative energy. So learn to accept. That's a tough one, I know, and that's why it's also part of the workbook. And have gratitude. Gratitude is one of the best virtues, I think, that are there. And, you know, if you have your limbs and your sight and your hearing, you're so blessed. And if you don't, what do you have that you can be grateful for? Another big one, practice non-judgment and non-attachment. Gosh, I mean, all of these things I've learned through my own clearing. And do I do it all perfectly? No, of course not. But I know the stuff works, and I'm aware of when I'm judging something. And when I'm judging it, I have to ask myself, what is it about me that I'm seeing in them? And so people say, well, wait a minute, you know, sometimes I have opinions about this or that. Opinions, everybody has our opinions. It's when you are so attached to some judgment about somebody that it brings up hate, and you are so angry about it. That situation may be horrible, but there is also something in you that it's triggering. So I'm sorry, that's unequivocal. It's worked in my life. So practice non-judgment, non-attachment. Then after that, that's when the more you let go, now you're really ready to start visualizing and affirming. And that's a whole nother, you know, not just a whole nother chapter, but pay attention to the things that really either take your breath away, or you look at it, like when I do visualization workshops, vision board. If you're going through a magazine or you're doing it online and picking out pictures, pay attention to what makes you go, wow. It could be a flower. It could, whatever it is, cut that out, cut that picture out, because it has meaning for you. I do believe in affirmations, but not by themselves. You can affirm till the cows come home. But if you have all this other stuff that's clogging up your pipeline, it's just not going to work very well. And then power up. Now, when I say power up, I am such an advocate for having a place in your home that is just dedicated to meditation, to visualizing, to affirming. You have whatever icons you want, or stones, or candles, or sage, or herbs. I get chills thinking about it, because you imprint. You know, we have an imprint wherever we go, wherever we're going. So when you take that area and use it as your altar or your intention space, you are imprinting that energy over and over again. So that's the 8 steps, and that's the 3 core principles that I practice and a lot of my clients do to bring about real miracles.
Thank you so much for sharing. You know what I like what you did? You're talking authentically. This is true. This is your reality. This is your life. This is your journey. But through that, you've met amazing people and you've experienced. So I know that you went through the steps, but to put it in steps, I could really see myself. Wow, it's a journey. It's not something I'm going to do in a weekend. It's not something I'm going to do in 2 months. It's probably within the next year or so. Yes, there's going to be some transformation that are going to go fast, right? But like you were saying, peeling, once you peel, there might be something else popping up. Well, we're going to work with that now. So thank you for making it tangible, making it real also, and making it like it's not, oh, it's so easy. You just do this and you just do that. No. There is some work. You got to do the work, but I'm there to support you. And I know what I'm talking about. That's the message I'm getting. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it would be a wonderful idea, right? If perhaps we put this into a form, perhaps that we could present to listeners or viewers or whatever, because it does work, Danielle, without a doubt. And the other thing I want to mention, like, you know, sometimes people, they say, well, you know, start with visualizing a cup of coffee. And
Yeah.
And then people find that easier. That's what's so interesting. But I want to tell you, and I'm all for that. Picture that somebody says, hey, let's go for a cup of coffee, or buys you. We seem to think that there's an order like of miracles, and Course in Miracles talks about that. There's no order of miracles. There's no lofty and lowly miracles, and there's no, or lowly isn't the right word, but there's no like order, like, okay, maybe you can get coffee today and next week you can work on the car. I mean, it's not like that. It's not, a miracle's a miracle, but we seem to feel comfortable when we go with the little stuff first. But it does take practice. And there's, sometimes people say, well, what makes yours different? I think there's plenty of beautiful people out there providing beautiful ways of learning how to manifest. This just worked for me and a lot of other people, so that's why I present it. And I'm passionate about it because I've gone through all the steps and I've experienced the miracles. So I feel confident in, and then Dr. Edgar Mitchell gave me that go girl. So that was
Don't
fine.
be shy anymore. Just go and do what you're supposed to be doing. And that's what you're doing today. Again, you've been on different platforms and talking about your experience, talking about what you do. But really today I got to meet Michele, the human being, but the spiritual Michele also, and the professional Michele, because we all have parts, right? We're all in different parts in our lives.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it, when we can sit down and gather all these little parts, and this is what makes the whole. So thank you so much for being you and showing up and just talking about, this is what it happened. This is how it happened for me. And if you can inspire somebody else or help somebody else reach out. So the best way to reach out to you would be by Facebook, I did some links underneath the video, but please share what's the best way if they really want to connect and know more.
Go to my webpage, which is Michele with one L, MicheleLanders.com. and check it out and schedule a 15 to 20. It's never 15 minutes. I have to tell you, they're free, but 15 minutes goes by like that. So It's usually longer. So schedule a free session with me. And if you want to know more or you're curious, and, we can just chat about anything, about, numerology, about, this, living miraculously, anything that you want, if you're just curious. And curiosity did not kill the cat, right? It didn't.
That's good.
Have a curious mind. And there was one more thing that I wanted to say and I forgot, and I know we have to. Well,
I don't want to forget before we say bye, but I really want you to talk about, because all of this too came out a book.
Yeah.
Came out an amazing book that I'm reading actually right now, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
I'm so happy that you are.
I am. So please share, what is the book about?
Well, it is a narrative. It's a personal narrative about some of the things that I shared with everyone today about my life. And it's just in more detail about what I went through, the situations that I was involved in, what changed for me. And then it's a workbook. Mm. So each one of the steps have exercises and then questions, hopefully thought-provoking questions at the end. And then at the very end, it's also a monthly journal, an opportunity to journal monthly. And then I go into a lot more detail, about the powering up step and how important that is. And also about space storms. It goes into a lot more detail, like you want to meditate, also have water around,
So you really give a lot of tips.
I give a lot of tips. Right.
And I want to share, so the title again is?
The Year of Living Miraculously, and you can get it on Amazon.
Isn't that what we talked about today? Also, it's all related, right? That's what you're offering the world here right now.
Yeah.
And
oh, I know what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I want people to know you don't have to go searching for a guru. You know, once I had somebody say to me, oh my, Michele, you're my guru. And I said, you know, that is a nice thing for you to say. And I appreciate it. I'm not going to not take that in, and thank you, but I'm not your guru. You're your own guru. Everybody is their own guru. We meet teachers along the way. I'm a teacher and a student all the time. You're a teacher and a student. Everybody, whether they realize it or not, is always teaching and learning. We're all in the same boat.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think you got your calling in the back saying,
I do. I had to lock the door so she doesn't come in the office, right? Because she would have been in here jumping on stuff.
That's so cute. Well, we're gonna say bye for now, but I want to say thank you so much. And Michele and I are gonna probably be popping up somewhere, somehow. We don't know when. It's gonna be a surprise that we're kind of working together on something. So we'll let you know as it's unfolding. Thank you for all the viewers that are watching live, the ones that are going to come and watch it after. Share with your friend. What a great interview. But I won't even call it an interview. This was two souls sitting down, having a conversation, sharing. And that's what this podcast is all about. Let's empower ourselves and help each other grow and expand our mind.
Yes.
So thank you, Michele. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you so much.
Day.
You too. Thank you.